Hey, good afternoon. When I took this job, I knew it was going to be a process to build. I felt like it really started with trying to infuse some energy into the fan base. I knew we needed to recruit at a high level, and we needed to, raise the level of energy and expectations moving forward. And I feel like that process had begun and was moving in the right direction. Obviously, Saturday was not what we expected, and was a step back for us. I am not, I am disappointed with how Saturday was played, performed, but I'm not discouraged. Anytime you're building something, there's always going to be processes. It's not a linear growth pattern. There's always ebbs and flows, and we've got to work together to figure out what it is that needs to be fixed and why that occurred, and how do we fix it. And it starts with me and what I can control. And after reviewing, the tape, the first 5 games, it was clear to me that there was a disconnect at the line of scrimmage, and I believed the change was needed. Jethro is a good coach. He is a man of character, but for whatever reason, it didn't work out and it wasn't the right fit. The timing is not good, but I believed it was necessary and needed to occur. And so I made the decision. It was my decision alone, and I made that decision to move forward in a different direction with the defensive line. Excited about Al Davis, a new voice stepping forward, a former SEC player, and a team captain, and a guy who I think knows defensive line play and can really get these guys going in the right directions for the remaining contests that we have. And with that being said, I'll open it up for questions.
When you say a disconnect, you just mean the message getting from the coach to the player. Can you explain what you mean by that word?
Yeah, it just wasn't. We weren't connected. I mean, it's just when I watch the tape, what we're saying we're supposed to do and what we're doing isn't working. And so, whatever it is, it wasn't working. And so there was a disconnect between what we felt like should be happening and what was happening.
You used the word voice. What can a new voice in a meeting room do mid-season?
Recharge us, re-energize us, maybe a new focus, try to rally and get everybody on the same page. I felt like this was something that I could do as the head football coach to try to create change.
Where did the decision of replacing with Al Davis come about? How quickly did that kind of all happen?
Really once I made the decision to make a change, and I had to try to figure out what was the best options available, and Al was here, and I've known Al from previous stops and reputations, and so that was the decision.
What was kind of the timeline of that, and kind of how you thought about it afterwards?
I don't really want to get into it. It just Sunday morning, I made the decision, moved on with it.
What's been the response from specifically the defensive line since you guys have had practices since that decision?
Well, obviously disappointment, but understanding that was a decision that I made, and move on from there.
Eli, you said after the game you didn't believe effort was an issue. After watching the tape, do you have any different feelings on that?
Yeah, I think there's a couple plays that effort was an issue, and so that's going to be addressed, and that'll be addressed today. And I think I think the not cautious, but the thing that's prudent to me is that it wasn't just a defensive issue. We didn't play well enough on offense. We had too many penalties. We didn't block well on the perimeter. We self-inflicted wounds, turned the football over, things that were uncharacteristic. And so that's all of that stuff is stuff that needs to be fixed.
Coaches talk from time to time about confidence and the ability to play fast within a scheme.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's missing on defense right now? And if so, how do you rebuild something like that?
Starts today. It starts today in meetings. We need to have a good meeting. We need to go out there and practice. We need to compete. And players got to feel like, I've always believed that your confidence comes from your preparation. If you feel like you prepared the right way, then you play fast on Saturday. And so look, I can't speak to it. All I'm trying to focus on is right now what's right in front of us, and we need to have a really good Tuesday practice.
Eli, do you use your offensive perspective to try to help the defense at times like this, or do you stay away?
No, absolutely tried to, but it's also, yeah, I absolutely try to.
Eli, what traits about Al Davis kind of give you confidence that he's going to be a good fit to take over his role?
Al is a strong, charismatic leader. He has great work ethic, instant credibility from his time playing, in the SEC, performing at a high level in the SEC. He's coached at a high level, and I think he'll do well.
There are generally two approaches after something like Saturday. Some coaches dwell on it more and drill the film more, and some say throw it away and we're never looking at that again. I mean, which way do you lean after something like Saturday?
Some of both. There were critical mistakes that have to be corrected, and you can't bury your head in the sand and say they didn't happen. But there's also things that, you just got to move on from. You can't dwell on it. I've told the team and the staff, Tennessee doesn't have to define us or this season, but if we let it, it will. So, how you respond to Saturday is going to determine what kind of person you want to be defined as. This fight just started for me.
Eli, is this a chance for young guys on defense that haven't played a whole lot?
Yeah. There's no depth chart. There's no depth chart. There's Tuesday's practice. After Tuesday and Wednesday, we'll have a better feel for who we think's going to play. But there's no depth chart.
Is that different than any other Tuesday and Wednesday?
I mean, yeah. Yeah, normally you go out there and the starters know who they are and the twos know who they are, and you kind of go through practice, but there's no starters right now.
Is that something like communicating to the team like, hey, this is more fluid than it usually is on this Tuesday or Wednesday?
Well, we got a team meeting today at 2 or at 1:30, so that's when that message will be sent. But yeah, I mean, they've been communicated to that it's not business as usual. It's not business as the previous 5 weeks as far as, it's kind of like fall camp again, Whoever plays and practices the best is going to be the one that plays Saturday.
Do you view this as kind of a chance to reset on the first 5 weeks of the season?
I think each week's an opportunity for you to reset. That's why we talk about being 1-0. That's what each week is for. It's just a different way to approach it this week. But yeah, each week's a different week to reset.
You mentioned the penalties that hadn't been much of an issue, but the last couple of weeks it's obviously kind of been. Just looking at those, I mean, any common thread or any reason?
Yeah, hands outside on the perimeter, being late to in perimeter blocking, being late with our hands, which causes when you're late and they get your hands inside, your hands go outside. Once they make a move, you have arms extended, which is going to be a holding call. Offensive line, there was 3 holding penalties. All 3 of them were correct calls. We have hands outside the framework of the body. So those are things that we control. We got to get it cleaned up.
Coach, this might be a generic question, but
That's okay.
Coach Wilkes is, a proven coach. He was a head coach in the NFL.
Yep.
What has been the issue? Would you say just generically the issue with what is there a disconnect between what he's teaching the players, or what's kind of going on here?
We're working really hard to solve that right now.
Missed tackles were fairly prominent on Saturday.
29 or something like that.
Do you believe is that more of an issue of just fundamentals, just guys missing tackles, or being out of position, or a combination of both?
Combination of both. Combination of bad angles, combination of not having the right techniques and skills, and something that, again, we've got to continue to work and drill and double down on it. We got to double down on it.
From being the leader of any organization, I'm sure there's mundane things that come with every job. I'm sure you still love coaching and everything like that, but just how much of this week it comes with the accountability and the responsibility of being that leader and steering this thing back to where you think it can go?
Yeah, I mean, I love what I do. I mean, wins or losses, this is still an unbelievable privilege to be the head coach of the University of Missouri. And this is part of what I signed up for. And like I said, I'm not discouraged. I was disappointed. I knew there was going to be days like this. I knew there were going to be, obviously I didn't think it'd be like that, but I knew there's tough times. The can't flinch. We got beat. Like I said, it doesn't have to define us. And this fight just started.
How much of the messaging has to come from, players on the team? I mean,
Yeah.
and on either side of the ball, have you seen anybody in particular kind of step forward in the last 3 or 4 days and try to take charge of this thing?
Yeah, I think our team's trying, but right now it's a lot of talk. We got to quit talking. Me, everybody. We got to fix it.
It looked like Connor was under a little more pressure in this game than the
Yep.
other. Was that more missed assignments or just
Yeah.
guys getting beat one-on-one?
No, it was. We didn't do a good enough job protecting him.
Were you a little surprised by that? Because that had been a strength, it seemed like, for the first month or so.
Yep. I think we were all a little bit surprised by that.
Eli, how do you kind of balance making sure that, players, especially on that defensive side of the ball, confidence doesn't get too low, but also balancing that with making it, clear how much does need to be corrected? Just how do you kind of go about?
Yeah, your confidence comes, like I said before, comes from your preparation. So it's all going to come down to how they prepare. These guys are good football players. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in the SEC. They've got talent and skill sets. We just got to prepare at a high level, and then they got to go play with that confidence. That's on all of us to try to figure out and do together.
When you say there's, you're kind of resetting, no depth chart and everything, you're at the point in the season where some of these guys are looking at 3-4 games. Does maintaining red shirts factor into any part of thinking?
I'm trying to be 1-0 this week. Whatever it takes to be 1-0, and whoever it takes to be 1-0 is what we're going to do.
What challenges do you see North Texas bringing this weekend?
Yeah, they've got a aggressive multiple front defense. Phil Bennett's been a defensive coordinator and a head coach, and does a really good job of mixing in pressure with zone, and he's got both odd and even front, drop 8 and zeros. So it's always a difficult challenge to have an answer for all of it. Offensively, they run a similar style to Tennessee, not as much tempo, but after what happened last week, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't pick it up. RPOs, run pass options, and so it's a challenge. Every week's a challenge, but for us, the biggest challenge is not going to be North Texas. It's going to be us, and making sure that we have the right frame of mind and the confidence to play at a high level.
How much extra pressure is there on when you guys come into a match like this? Do you know, after the events of last weekend?
I think as a competitor, the amount of pressure you feel is what you put on yourself. There's not any extra pressure. I mean, I don't feel any extra pressure because of the previous game or the next game. I feel pressure because of the opportunity that I have to represent the great state of Missouri and the trust that the fans and players and coaches and families have put in me to be the leader. That doesn't really have anything to do with the previous game. That's just what I own because of what I am.
Is anything about where you dedicate your time personally this week change? I mean, as far as defensive meetings during practice, anything or not?
Now, I got my hands full fixing the offense from Saturday. So I got to make sure that the offense is right. I'll still do the normal head coaching things that I do as far as have team meetings and go to, be where I am at on the football field at certain times at practice, but I'm not going to change what we were doing. If I get distracted by that, then we got other issues.
There might be some thinking that with, almost a 3-touchdown spread this weekend that, it might be an easier way
No.
to kind of work things back in, but I mean, looking at what North Texas' strengths, it seems like it's on the offensive line and with their running back number 3, Torrey. So how much does that kind of help you in figuring out how quickly things need to be reassessed on defense and overall?
I don't ever worry about the spread. I worry about what I see on tape. I mean, it's going to be a difficult matchup. So, and it's going to be exactly what our weaknesses are versus their strengths. That's what good coaches do. So we'll find out early.
Anything else for Coach?
Thank you all.